This is the brand new classic WoW video from Jibei. I think this is like episode 4, maybe 5, where Jibei, a brand new WoW player, goes into classic with no nostalgia, and he's kind of giving his experience, which is just like, as a long-term WoW player, it's just so cool to see like someone come in with a like completely fresh eyes and just learn stuff. And he's doing it off stream, which is kind of nice in a sense where like there's no back seating. Like he's actually just going in blind. It's like you with League. Yeah, exactly. Or like me when I played Warcraft 3. Anyway, I'm really enjoying the series. This is the brand new video. It came out this morning, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
So I've been playing Classic WoW for quite a while at this point, and one of the things that's...
Quite a while, yeah. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I was gonna be like, well, I've been playing my whole life, but it's like, I'm not gonna say that because I don't want to be that guy. Well, I guess I just did, but that's...
surprised me most about this game has been seeing just how smoothly I've fallen into playing it. Like, on the one hand, this is one of those older titles that people like to say has loads of friction. A game where you have to group up in person rather than use a dungeon finder queue, where you have to train weapon skills before using certain items, and just deal with all sorts of other archaic mechanics that modern titles have mostly done away with. In spite of all of those rough edges that I keep coming across, though, none of that has ever made WoW feel like a chore to play. In fact, I might say that this is the smoothest video game addiction I have ever fallen into. I've just been traveling across a fascinating world, free to always go where my attention leads. I'm getting to engage in epic quest lines where one naturally feeds into another. My character has grown quite a bit in power over my first 60 to 70 hours of gameplay, but it's never been because I've consciously been grinding. Leveling up has just been a byproduct of doing things I already wanted to do. It has been very easy to spend lots of time in Azeroth and have a blast doing it, but of course, this is still an MMORPG, meaning that things weren't gonna stay easy forever. In fact, right as I crossed the level 30 threshold was the moment that this game decided to get a bit more serious and challenge me in ways that I had not been challenged yet, because that was when I found myself barred from exploring places I wanted to enter, where I couldn't instantly complete every quest I came across, where if I really wanted to reach certain milestones, I was gonna have to start grinding for them, and having to spend all that time learning the game. It might have been the most satisfying thing I have ever experienced. We're gonna jump into talking about all of that today as we continue our journey to maxing as a first-time WoW player. But before we get into all of that, first, I have to talk to you about another game that has an equally satisfying progression system featuring all sorts of fun unlocks.
Oh, is it Raid Shadow Legends?
Where you can play not only on PC, but cross-platform on mobile as well. And this title, of course, does not have constant seasonal resets that are always devaluing your progress. I'm still a real YouTuber, it seems, because once again, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid just launched their latest event, Echoes of Oz, where players get to take on a
well, guys, if you want to check out Raid Shadow Legends, there's a QR code up there that supports Jibei, and you know, and we're watching his content, so we're gonna let it play through here. All right, here we go.
Champion Dorothy Gale, just by logging in.
Someone says I'm trying to skip this, and it's on Twitch. Yeah.
If you log in another 7 days.
Oh my gosh.
Dorothy's a great character to run alongside other friends from Oz champions, since she is a fantastic support with tons of buffs, crowd control, and debuffs for enemies.
Does anyone play Raid Shadow Legends in the chat here?
It's the perfect time to do so.
I actually haven't tried myself, but
my channel, I have actually been playing it unironically myself because, wow, this game has had a lot of content they've added over the years. I'm also just a bit of a degenerate who can't help it. You know,
someone said yes in the chat.
With PvP
Everyone else said no,
so
but
fun to me. It's a disease, and I've got tons of free unlocks if you want to give it a shot too. If you follow my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen, new players will get the legendary
I don't know how much protection.
Arma the Returned unlocked instantly. Once you reach level 15, you'll also get an epic Konaru from the Shadowkin faction. Not only that, you will also get the option to unlock any one of these 4 legendary champions just by using their respective promo codes when you sign up. And you already know what I'm going to tell you. If I were you, I would just pick Grand Oak Padraig. He is one of the best supports in the game. You should be scared not to follow the meta. Just trust me on this. Go ahead and use my link or the QR code to start your account today.
There it is,
helps
Jibei.
out the channel a ton. And a big shout out
to Jibei,
sponsoring this episode. But now, back to the video.
Back to the vid.
So we last left off midway through our journey to getting a whirlwind axe, an important item for warriors, I've learned. After starting a class quest chain where I was flung all across the world in a pretty fun adventure, I last left off needing to find 2 sets of items to summon the Cyclonian, where if I could defeat him, I would be able to complete my mission. Unfortunately, it seems as though I am also going to have to level up quite a bit more before I'm ready to take him on 1v1. I've done about as much leveling as I can in the human starting zones, seeing all of those quests, so I figured the next place I should head toward is Stranglethorn Vale, as a freshly minted level 32 that appears to be the next area for me to continue leveling, and it also seems to be where I can find those blood scalp trolls who I need to farm for their tusks to summon the Cyclonian anyway. So after logging back on, I all but instantly turned due south from Duskwood to set foot in another new region, which I was very excited to explore. I honestly felt a little bit giddy at the time because it had been a couple of weeks since I last logged.
Man, I just love, like, in older MMOs, like every MMO should be like this. There's zones that you can't go into because the mobs are red or question mark mobs that are just gonna one-shot you, and it's scary. Like, have you ever had the feeling you're questing in Elwyn and you accidentally go through the river and you get killed by the wolves in Duskwood? Or the spiders? And they just kill you in 4 hits, and you're like, crap, those are so strong. They owned me. I'm not ready for that yet. And then you level up, and a week later you're there, and you're killing these wolves, and you're like, ha, gotcha. You know? It's the best feeling of graduating to that next zone. But in modern MMOs, what they do a lot of the time is the world scales with you. You can go wherever you want, and it's more accessible, and you can play with your friends. Yeah, except now you just ruined the whole joy of the journey of getting stronger in the first place. That's what retail WoW did. Terrible decision. Like, look, I think retail does some good stuff, but like, terrible decision here when it's like, yeah, I want to feel like I'm getting stronger and going to the harder zones, not like I can go anywhere at any time and level the world with me. And then I get a level up and I get stronger, but everything leveled with me, so not really. So you never get stronger. You don't feel progression. Ugh. Yeah, ESO did that too. Retail did that too. Why? Why do modern MMOs do this? Worst possible feature ever. Ever.
Onto my character. I haven't mentioned too much about how I've made this series thus far, but basically, when making one of these episodes, I start by recording 10 to 20 hours of gameplay, leveling until I feel like I have enough of a story to make up an episode of my journey. Then I pause all gameplay to write, record, and edit a video together, making sure that I don't play any more until that episode is released. Initially, I started doing this just to make sure I could get feedback from you guys, as I realized you gave some pretty great insights on various settings that would make these videos more tolerable to watch, and I may need to change this workflow up a bit in the future for reasons that we'll get to at the end of this video. But I've actually really come to like this ebb and flow of things, since not playing any WoW for a week or two means that I spend all that time daydreaming, excited about what I'll get to do next when I log back on. It's like being a kid when you're forced to go to school and then get stuck in class all day, daydreaming about what you're gonna do next in the game you're currently.
Yes. Okay, so I actually had, I'm sure all of you guys felt this as a kid and still feel it today. When you are playing a game, you're addicted, and you're going about real life and you're just thinking about the game. It's a good feeling that you're like, can't wait to play again. I lost that as a streamer when I was streaming 7 days a week, because I was streaming 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's like, I'm just on all the time, so I'm not daydreaming about it because I'm actually playing, and it becomes monotonous. But when I started taking off weekends a few years ago, so I'm only playing 5 out of the 7 days a week, which is still a crazy amount, right? But less than I was. It built this anticipation for Mondays of like, it gets me excited to play again, right? And it gets like, I like that. It's a good feeling. Or like sometimes I'll use the same tactic if I'm reading a book, and like I stop like a few pages before I would actually kind of like want to. So I keep thinking and daydreaming about it, and like, so I can't wait to read the next page of that next chapter when I'm back, versus like binge and go too far. Then it's like, now you're burnt out and you don't really want to go anymore. So I love it. Absolutely. For most people, it's already built into your life, though, right? If you go to work all day, you're probably thinking about, I can't wait to get home and play a game of League, or I can't wait to get home and do my raid, or can't wait to get home and level my hardcore character. But for a streamer or G-Bay as a YouTuber, you kind of have to build it in a little bit. Bro, that's called edging. Okay, I'll have to look into that. I don't really know.
Addicted to when you get home. Anyway, on entering Stranglethorn, I come to a crossroads where the rightmost path leads me to an alcove in a cliffside. Here, an alliance band of soldiers have set up a rebel camp and begin doling out some of the story as to what's going on in this area. Sergeant Yoa, who leads these rebels, tells me that her troop has been fighting a losing battle against a Colonel Curzon and asks if I can aid in their fight. She first gives me a quest to thin out his horde of jungle fighters before then giving me another to try and cripple some of the medicine men healers that support his ranks.
I love these quests.
My first tasks in this new area. I also pick up another quest from a soldier who tells me to go to Booty Bay to get a broken cooking pot repaired, which, yes, I am apparently 15 years old because I think that is a very funny name. It takes a little while, but eventually, after looking at the setting I'm placed in, I put 2 and 2 together, realizing that Colonel Curzon is probably a reference to Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, a movie all about an exemplary soldier who goes insane during the Vietnam War and now rules a rogue tribe in the jungle, meaning that Curzon must have been a former Alliance soldier who went insane in Stranglethorn for some reason or another, and that these rebels are now fighting to put his subversive army down. I'm curious to learn more, so I begin heading due south in search of his camp, where I'm honestly a little bit stunned at the beauty and diversity found in this zone. It always feels really cool when you first set foot in a new area in this game. Like, this looks completely alien compared to the spooky forests of Duskwood where I just spent a few dozen hours. Eventually, as I press forward, I start coming across some mobs who are way too high level for me to fight. There's absolutely zero way I'm going to be able to kill these guys anytime soon, so I realize I must have taken a wrong turn. As such, I turn around.
That feeling right there is what I'm talking about. You took a wrong turn, you run into high-level characters, and you're scared. The feeling of being scared in an MMO is a really good thing, because then it makes you want to build your character strong enough to not be scared, to then inevitably go to another zone and be scared again. That's the loop we're all looking for, right? Once you take that feeling of being scared away, because everything's your exact level, it just sucks. Like, the feeling just goes away. It's like, ugh, it's not even an MMO anymore.
Doubling back, and eventually find the Curzon compound and the various jungle fighters and medicine men I'm meant to take down. Just before I found the camp, I saw a guy in region chat looking for some help on doing the same quests I'm working towards, so I invite him to a group and we get started fighting some mobs. Things go well enough at first, but then, when this guy finishes his quest, he apparently says he doesn't have time to stay and help me finish mine. I'm a bit suspicious about that, but honestly, everyone's been so nice to me in Classic so far, I figure he's
Oh man, look at the time. I gotta run, man. Thanks for the group, but like, yeah, I actually have to, there's this thing I gotta get to now that my quest is done. Good luck, man. See ya.
Probably telling the truth and really does have to go. After he leaves, I then learn that these quests are going to be pretty tough for me to take down solo. Most of the Curzon mobs are packed close together across this compound, making it hard for me to fight them one at a time, and as a warrior, I still barely can manage killing a single mob at my level, much less taking on 2 or 3. Not only that, the medicine men I'm meant to take down here also have these spells that give out big heals to either themselves or an ally if you're fighting more than one at a time, and since I'm not using a shield, I have no idea if there's any way I can interrupt their casting.
Not yet.
Still, I try my best to knock out at least one of these quests, but I fail pretty quickly, dying to a couple medicine men, and eventually figure I might just be too low level to deal with Stranglethorn for now, choosing to Spirit Revive and Hearth back to South Shore. Honestly, this—
So that's like the real WoW experience. You're a level 32 warrior. You're self-found, no handouts, no fiery enchants, right? You're a new player, and you go to quest against mobs similar to your level, and you can't even really kill them one-to-one. Like, I'm so glad he put this in the video. This is the real experience. Like, right now, if you've metagamed the crap out of it, your friend carried you to Whirlwind Axe, you have fiery Crusader enchant from bought gold. Yeah, you're one-shotting all this. But like, I love that it's this, you know? I love that it's this.
was a little bit annoying. Looking back now, I think this was maybe the first time that I wasn't allowed to explore a zone in my leveling range that I really wanted to see. I wanted to wander around and see more of Apocalypse Now and Vietnam. Even so, I wasn't too disappointed, since by now the world had opened up quite a bit to me and I had a range of options for other places I could go. So far across my leveling journey, I'd mostly been constrained to only having one or maybe two areas that I could quest in, either in the human or dwarven leveling areas in the Eastern Kingdoms. But now that I've crossed 30, the world has completely opened up. At this point, if I'm not ready for Stranglethorn, I could go back to Kalimdor and see if there's a good leveling area for me somewhere around the Barrens I just explored. If I wanted to stay in the Eastern Kingdoms, I could also go back up to the Wetlands and wrap up any quests there before pressing further into the Arathi Highlands. I end up making a third choice, choosing to explore Hillsbrad and the Alterac region instead, mostly because that's where my Hearthstone was set, and I'm also still coming down the high from playing through Warcraft 2, learning all about the history of what happened here during the Second War. Anyway, after getting back to South Shore, I turned in that quest from last episode where I decrypted a syndicate letter, handing it in to the magistrate, who gives me a follow-up quest that I'm excited to do, but that is what makes it so disappointing to see that the follow-up is way too high level for me. Instead, I choose to do some of the easier quests in the region, mostly focused on the chain given out by this guard, Lieutenant Farron Ornell. So this guy is just another random guard for the Alliance who has recently been transferred to South Shore from Stormwind City, and his superior, Redpath, has been giving him various tasks to thin out mobs in the region. I've already done one quest for him, assisting in killing off some of the Tidehunter and Oracle Murlocs infesting the beaches not too far south. After doing that, he gave me a second task saying that Redpath wasn't satisfied with all the Murlocs we killed, now asking for proof by slaying more and returning with 10 Murloc heads. Honestly, this dude seems like a little bit of a bum. If anything, this quest chain feels like a bit of a joke in how NPCs around Azeroth are always getting me to do their work for them while they get to take all the credit. It's something to do though, so I get back to killing Murlocs for their heads, which goes by pretty well on my own. Probably
I mean, that is a lot of the quests. Like, yo, collect 10 heads. All right, collect 10 more. All right, now we need some spider eyes. Lots of them. All right, now we need some legs. You know, like, that is a lot of them. But, like, it's you know, it's chill and nice.
Or the best, since once again, grouping with other players on a quest like this normally doesn't really speed anything up, since you have to split the drops that you're both after. On rare occasions, I've come across other players who will refuse to group if they're on this kind of quest for that reason. And that is why later, when one guy shows up and asks if I want to group to kill the Murlocs, saying that he just needs the heads, I assume he's asking if I'm on that first quest where I only need the kill credit, and that he's not actually going to want to group with me when I tell him I also need to collect the heads. Still, I am honest and inform him that we're on the same task, prepared for him to run off and leave me in a lurch. But then,
let's rain fire on these fish folk.
Yeah! Yeah! Faith in humanity restored. Let's go! Oh, you guys are dead. You guys are dead.
all right, that was probably my bad, pulling a bunch of mobs. Although maybe it wasn't my fault. Maybe it was his pet that did it. Either way, though, I love this guy. We laugh about it and keep doing the quest together. Farsight is just another awesome friendly player in a game that's filled with them. I should probably...
I'm glad this stuff still happens. I remember when I was very young, I remember doing the quest... Actually, two different quests, similar kind of experience. The first time was on Westfall. You know, the Shores of Westfall quest where you have to kill the Murlocs. I remember doing that with one random person that I met, and we went all the way from like the top of the shore to the bottom back to the top, and I was like however old, like 13 or something, and I was just so proud. I was like, we did it with just 2 people, like just 2. Like now you can like solo it or whatever. But I was just like so happy that we like got the whole thing done. It was such a cool experience. And then the other time was much later. I was in like level 50 something, and we were doing the Lyceum in BRD. It was my first time doing the Lyceum, and it was just like this really cool feeling of getting through it, and like our whole group was just stoked that we made it that far into BRD and that we actually got through the Lyceum. And I don't even know if we did the last boss, but just the fact that we got through the Lyceum for the first time was like epic, and I still remember that today. You know, it's pretty cool.
Known better than to assume.
Yeah, and then we probably did die to the flamethrowers. You're probably right, but we made it through the Lyceum.
The worst of others by now. This guy in particular is so friendly that he ends up inviting me to do a dungeon with him once we finish our quest. Apparently he's getting a group together to run Gnomeregan, which I had heard of once before. Very early on in my adventures, I had come across some gnomes in Ironforge giving out quests for this dungeon right at the end of the Deep Run tram line. There was also a gnome with a quest for it in Stormwind, and according to the activity advisor, it seems as though I'm the appropriate level to do it. Hell, I still need to get the bad taste of stockades out of my mouth, so I tell Farsight I'd be happy to run it, even though I may hold back the group as someone who doesn't know what I'm doing. But he's as nice as ever, even going so far as to help us find a tank for our group, so I don't need to tank it myself.
Farsight, we need more players like you, brother. That is awesome. I love to see it. W Farsight. This guy is just like, you know, just welcoming the new players, builds the group for them. Legendary.
Which I think that might be the first time that I get to run a dungeon where I am not forced to be the tank. We collect the rest of our Murloc heads before turning in our quest to the guard, who then asks that we deliver the sack of heads to Redpath ourselves, since apparently he's too lazy to even do that. Redpath seems just as annoyed as we are, telling us that we should inform Ornell he wants him to thin out the horde of Naga on the other shoreline, and that he should report in person when the job is done. But of course, Ornell can't handle the Naga, which means that we're gonna have to kill them for him as well, which might lead to him getting a promotion to go back to Stormwind City if we do it. Who cares though? I'm a little too excited about being able to run my third dungeon in this game to be that upset about this guy exploiting my labor. So I accept his quest before quickly flying off to Ironforge with Farsight. As the rest of our group gathers their things, getting ready.
I love that. With Farsight. Like, it's this journey you're going on with another player, you know? That is so cool.
I run over to the gnomes that I know have some of the quests available for me, picking up the 3 that I see in the immediate vicinity without realizing there's a 4th that I'm about to miss. Although it doesn't matter that much since this is a dungeon I'm gonna have to run a couple of times. Also, side note, I have seen comments from you guys saying that there is an option in the settings to turn off the scrolling text for quests.
He's gonna say he likes it, guaranteed, because he reads them anyway.
But I don't know why I would do that. The text scrolls just about as fast as I can read it, and I'm never gonna not read the quest text.
Oh my god.
There's no benefit from me making it pop up instantly. But anyway, I grab the quests I can see before grouping up with our allies, who lead us across Dunmoreau to the entrance of my third classic dungeon. And this one is a lot more fun than the last. We enter Gnomeregan by plunging deep into the earth, down an elevator where we then emerge into a massive cavern that looks quite impressive. I mean, it's firstly nice to just get some spacious areas after dealing with how cramped and crowded the stockades felt, but even beyond that, the art direction and style for this whole dungeon feels so fun. We're still outside the dungeon proper and
just wait till you hear the music.
To go off and kill a big tech bot thing for one of our quests before then picking up some punch cards off nearby mobs for another. These punch cards will be used at various machines across the dungeon, with the first being here outside its entrance. I like that each one of these steps has
Bro, this took me like 15 years to get down right. The punch card quest is always like, which color again? Like, which one do I hit? Like, this one... It always throws me for a loop.
Hidden message in binary that gets increasingly funny with each stage as you go across the dungeon. I'm obviously trying to not look up any spoilers in this playthrough, but I feel like this is something that's okay for me to search because I have no idea how to read binary and I would have missed these awesome jokes otherwise. Once everyone has their punch...
Wait, I don't know if I've ever seen
how
these.
to read binary and I would have missed.
The white one says Thrallin Jaina sitting in a tree, Kissing, in binary. What? Do you guys know this? Yellow, if you can read this, you're standing too close. Blue, the Gnome King wears night elf underwear. Red, help, I'm trapped in a binary punch card factory. Prismatic, message to Caspipe, your laundry's ready for pickup. I never knew this. I saw all the ones and zeros and stuff, but I didn't think to translate it.
These awesome jokes otherwise. Once everyone has their punch cards though, we then enter the dungeon proper and begin our trek, which honestly, this dungeon really made me appreciate something about WoW. One of the most fun parts about playing an MMO is getting to see how developers weave all the various different influences that inspired them into a single cohesive world. World of Warcraft though might be one of the best games I've ever seen at doing this. Like, this world features a lot of the classic Tolkien-esque esque or Dungeons and Dragons type staples of high fantasy, where you have orcs and dwarves and elves and medieval human cities, but you also have dinosaurs roaming around. You have the Vietnam War as a backdrop for one of the zones. This is a game that somehow features both bows and arrows and guns side by side in your inventory, with neither really feeling out of place. Seeing a proper gnomish city for the first time is what really hammers this point home for me, since this feels like I'm almost being transported into a whole new world. I'm now being hit with industrial revolution machines, with cogs and springs and mechanical devices whirling around, all that stand in pretty stark contrast to the otherwise medieval world outside, but it also still feels like it's not all that out of place. This aesthetic is so fun on its own. It could be the whole creative direction for an MMO world. If Toontown did not release before World of Warcraft, I would have assumed they stole that game's whole aesthetic from Gnomeregan. Anyway, as we enter the dungeon proper, Farsight is once again a very cool dude who takes the time to DM me explaining some of the lore of this place. Apparently, Gnomeregan was the capital city of the gnomes before a race of mutant trogs invaded. Some radioactive catastrophe occurred shortly after, with the remaining leper gnomes found in the city being driven mad. Now they think that all the unaffected gnomes and regular people like us who enter are the invading trogs and will come to attack. This explains why if you wait outside the entrance to the city, you can find the occasional fleeing gnomes still trying to escape. It also explains why one of the quest givers in Ironforge is the king of the gnomes, High Tinker Mechatork, who alluded to a Thermoplug character that apparently betrayed the city in the Trog attack in some sort of way. He is the primary foe that we have been sent in here to slay. Anyway, we get to work taking down a series of irradiated trogs as my group leads me.
Anyone else thinking what legs is he gonna take? You going for the tank ones or the leather DPS ones? G-Bay? Huh.
Through the dungeon, which is a pretty massive place. This feels way bigger than the Dead Mines or the Stockades did. I didn't even know dungeons in this game could get so big. Our first boss is in an area up to the side, revealed to us when we defend an excavator who blows up a couple of tunnels, releasing waves of foes for us to slay. That boss goes down.
I want... Okay.
No problem, though, letting us plunge deeper into the city.
I was gonna say, like, dark thoughts were entering my brain here. I'm like, is he gonna run in that tunnel? I just want to see if he... Maybe he runs in to check it out, you know? I don't know.
Taking down more and more mobs, eventually coming to a little respite. Here we can take a breather to sell some stuff to vendors or use a series of machines that will clean grime-covered objects dropped by the mobs we've been facing. A fun little mechanic. After that, we run around searching some windowed corridors for an escort quest that is apparently somewhere nearby, although we just can't find it, so our group decides to press further down. It's then we come across some irradiated slime mobs who are for some sort of quest that I don't have, but this does well to further suggest some environmental storytelling about that radioactive catastrophe that clearly occurred when the city fell. A pretty cool two-handed staff drops from the boss in this room that might actually be an upgrade to my dual-wielded axes. I've been using those for a while, and this one even allows underwater breathing. I think about need rolling for it just for that, but I figure somebody else in the group probably needs it more than I do, so I just hit greed and let the item roll to a teammate. The next area of the dungeon sees...
If no one else needs it, you can definitely press need. Every time. Yeah, every time, man. I don't, you know... Dual wield looks cool too, honestly.
Fewer trogs and monsters, instead putting us up against some of those leprous gnomes, making me wonder about the story of this place and how exactly the Thermoplug guy betrayed the king. That's one of the things that makes me a little bit sad about this dungeon, at least compared to the other two I've already been through. Having the whole massive Defias Brotherhood quest chain that introduced me to the story of the Dead Mines and Stockades well before I entered either of them, that just lent so much weight to the story and the characters that I found in their depths, and it gave me time to appreciate and understand everything that was going on. Gnomeregan, by comparison, kind of just throws us into the dungeon right away. Maybe I would have gotten to experience some of the story if I played a dwarf or a gnome and spent my early levels in Dunmoreau, but I still wish I had something that let me appreciate its narrative a bit more, rather than instantly being given a quest by the King of the Gnomes to go solve everyone's problems right away. All continues going well for our team, as Farsight leads us through the next few caverns.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I know about the gnome RP through watching a YouTube video. or I guess I should say the Nomergon lore through watching a YouTube video. Is that explained somewhere in the game? I'm sure it is, but I'm trying to think of where they're like forced out of Nomergon from the Trogs. Like where is this explained? Because I didn't know about it for years until I watched a video, and it's like Jibei had that same criticism. It's like, I wish I would have like known about this without someone telling me, you know? There's a bit in Keranos. Yeah, that like poison quest that you get in Keranos, maybe. The gnome starting cinematic, maybe like the gnome intro. But if you're like a human, you're just kind of like out of the loop, you know? That is fair criticism.
Making sure to explain some tips and tricks, like how we can avoid pulling 1,000,000 mobs that might wipe our group by hugging this left wall. Later on, we enter another big cavern where we see biplanes littering the floor with nose art on them. Oh gosh, I forgot we used to paint scary faces on the noses of planes. We used to be a real country. After pressing further is when we come across the next boss, who drops a cool looking item, although one that doesn't have any agility or strength, so I figure I don't need it and hit greed once more. Then our group shows me a little skip that you can do to get to the lower levels, which I find very cool for some reason. It's neat having tech like this in each dungeon. It kind of reminds me of that safety barrel that you have in the Dead Mines. All across our journey, we keep doing our punch cards and collecting other items for quests, although I often see my group mates doing many quests that I don't have access to, which is where I realize I'm going to definitely have to run this dungeon again. The last super serious hurdle we face is when we run into some dark iron dwarves who my teammates warned me drop some scary bombs that we have to take care of, although my allies kill those so quickly I don't think I really see one of them become a threat. The Dark Iron faction is a pretty interesting one. I've seen them quite a bit here and there throughout Dunmoreau, and I'm a bit curious to learn more about them, hopefully later. But this is when we approach the final stretch of the dungeon, stopping by our last punch card spot and head to another optional boss. He's apparently up this elevator, which, oh my god, elevators in this game go so quickly. For a second, I thought I died or something, but it looks like I just clipped into the bottom of this. Eventually, I get reset when it heads back down, thankfully. I had no idea that elevators in this game are apparently kind of dangerous. That boss ends up going down no problem, though, so we head further toward the end. One Dark Iron Dwarf drops a grime-encrusted ring along the way, which starts a quest that I can do if I go back to that degriming machine to clean it up. But of course, that'll have to be saved for our next run, as we are nearly finished. We come across a massive door that, once unlocked, reveals the final boss, Mechgineer Thermoplug, who was the guy that we were originally sent in here to slay. Right before we kick off our fight, one of the guys in our group then DMs me a super kind message saying that he started his character on this server because he saw my series on YouTube and hoped to run a dungeon with me, which was so sweet. But I can't get distracted with feelings because we have a job to do. Farsight explains to us that the faces on these pillars surrounding the boss will light up and send dangerous bombs our way in the middle of the fight if someone doesn't go up and hit these red buttons first. That is actually kind of cool, seeing unique mechanics involved with taking a boss down. I don't think I've really seen much of that in any of the other dungeons I've run. We go in and kick off the fight ready and focused, but it goes relatively...
Do any of you guys actually hit the red buttons when you do this boss? Like in SOD, you have to. You're just gonna die if you don't. No. Because I'm gonna say, I don't think I've ever done it outside of SOD. In SOD, you pretty much had to. But I've never done that. Like, I've just killed the boss and then you just kill the bombs. But it is kind of cool to know that.
Smooth. Nobody ends up in danger of dying as Thermoplug is defeated and we are rewarded with 2 cool looking drops. This 2-handed axe in particular looks specifically good for me. I'm kind of hesitant to need roll on it still because I don't know if it actually is an upgrade to the DPS I'm getting from my dual wielded axes.
Yes, it is.
But thankfully, Farsight is a bro one last time and tells me it's totally cool if I need roll for it because it is indeed a great axe for warriors. So I need and get the axe and feel incredibly excited to take this souvenir as we exit the dungeon and say goodbye to our group. Once again,
he wins the roll too. Dude, now you can go to Stranglethorn Vale. Warriors are a class, I'm saying this as if he's watching the stream, are a class that, like, once you have this item, you are now very powerful, right?
Big shout out to these guys. Thank you very much for carrying me through yet another dungeon. Yeah. Honestly, getting this two-handed axe was such an exciting drop, since I assume a two-hander like this is going to be very similar to the whirlwind axe in form and function. I probably need to practice using...
So not quite as much. If you guys don't play WoW, warriors, like the DPS is a big deal for warriors, but what really matters is the top end damage. So a slower weapon is going to deal more damage because an instant attack like a whirlwind or a mortal strike or an overpower is going to go basically give you an instant swing. So it's like, would you rather have an instant swing with a slow weapon or an instant swing with a fast one? Obviously the slow one, so you want the high top end. So that's why Whirlwind Axe, even though the DPS is similar and the stats are similar, like the top end is just like 50% higher, right?
Like this is going to be very similar to the Whirlwind Axe in form and function. I probably need to practice using this weapon type anyway, getting a feel for what it's like to use a slow attacking two-hander compared to the dual wielding that I've grown accustomed to. So when I hearth out of the dungeon back to South Shore, I was pretty eager to test it out, heading off to kill some of the Naga for that
you gotta level
quest.
Up here.
I realize on trying to kill my very first Naga though, that I have not trained two-handed axes at all, and in fact find myself struggling so much, I probably would have died if it wasn't for another player showing up to help me out.
I love it. Bro, I'm such a classic Andy now. Like, I think I would have been annoyed at this at some point, but now it just makes me smile. It's like, yeah, it's a rite of passage when you get a new weapon. You're supposed to like go to Stormwind and hit low-level mobs for a while in Elwyn to train it, to get that weapon expertise, to feel it out and then take it out and try it, right? It's like, it just feels nice. It's like a little rite of passage. That's right.
Who it turns out was a member of the Horde. God, getting saved by the Horde, that might be the most humiliating thing that can happen to someone in the Alliance. Still,
True.
They certainly deserve a bow, and I eventually go around getting my two-handed axe still higher on some easier mobs to a point where I will not be quite as helpless. Except, here's the thing, as I go back to fighting the Naga, I still find myself in pretty dire straits basically every time. I don't totally know what's going wrong.
His weapon skill's still like way too low. I think my camera might have been covering it, but it's like 120.
But I find myself getting killed in a few of these 1v1s. It doesn't feel as though this axe is much better than the dual wields I've been using, which suddenly makes me feel very worried. I don't think this is a bad weapon, certainly not if the Whirlwind Axe is going to be so good. I mean, it's blue, it has big DPS, there has to be something that I am doing wrong here, causing it to feel less effective. So I start diving into reading more about my weapon and skills and armor and talents and everything to try and figure it out. And that is when I make a really exciting discovery. So if you guys remember from earlier episodes, I've been spec'd into the Fury talent tree for the improved demoralizing shout and the
he's also Fury with dual wield spec,
as well as the execute and whatnot that I've since been able to take. However, I've noticed that in the arms tree, there seems to be a specific talent that increases your damage dealt with two-handed melee weapons. Not only that, but there is also another talent that increases the crit chance with two-handed axes specifically. That starts to get my...
I mean, those things are gonna help, but like you can play two-handed Fury as well. It's really like the weapon skill, he's just like dodging all of his attacks, you know?
Gears turning, which leads to another little discovery. The warrior class seems to have a bunch of skills that deal damage based on your weapon's damage. Skills like cleave, overpower, and slam, which means that using these skills should be more effective when using a higher damage weapon, regardless of how slowly it attacks. And
dude, Jibei's brilliant. I didn't understand this. Like for years, I was just like DPS, bro. Like I guess I played a mage though. That's my excuse. I was playing a mage. I didn't even think about it.
That's when I put on my theory crafting hat and try to come up with a new strategy that I think is probably what I was supposed to be doing in the first place. Specifically, I need to respec my...
Okay. Like I'm moving my camera here. Guys, every time he's showing one of these clips, he's getting nonstop skill ups. The only, like... all of this is important, but the only reason it's not like completely face roll is like he just can't Like, he's just missing every attack. Like, he just needs skill ups, really.
Myself into the arms tree so I can get the two-handed weapon and axe specializations. If I do that, I can also pick up a special skill called sweeping strikes.
I mean, yeah, this is good
two
too.
mobs at once with up to 5 melee attacks. Another thing that will benefit from each auto attack being higher damage, even at slower speeds. Then, if I also use more agility items, or just care about focusing on specking crit chance as much as possible, that could make each auto hit even harder, since I assume sweeping strikes would also proc crits. I might be totally wrong about all of this.
Kinda. Yeah. I mean, you still want to prio strength. I wonder what legs he got from Nomer, because he didn't show the quest turn in. Maybe he hasn't turned it in yet. But now that he has this two-hander and he's arms, like, dude. Leather.
I'm still a new player, and it might be a huge mistake that I'm about to spend 5 gold to reset my talents, because that is an expensive thing to do. But I also don't care if I'm wrong. Theory crafting builds like this is so fun in any RPG you play.
Yep.
So after I finish killing up the Naga for that lazy bum, he gives me a quest to go back to Stormwind and deliver his report directly to Major Samuelson, because of course I have to do one more task for him. I don't even care though. This is the perfect opportunity where once that letter is delivered, I can head over to Wu Shen and reset my talents to try this strategy out, which, oh gosh, I hope it works. Here's the thing though, the theory crafting didn't even end there. After I spec down the arms tree, I realized that one of the skills that I basically had to take reduced the rage that I lost when swapping between stances, meaning that I'm probably meant to be using every stance at once in battle, something I have never really done and will have to learn. But before I do that, I then go and start turning in all those Nomergon quests while picking up the new ones I missed. And that's when I get really stupid, because the quest I did for that king gives me the option of choosing a reward between 3 different sets of pants. And the male pants set is clearly the one that a warrior is supposed to take with this massive armor buff. However, I noticed that the leather pants set gives plus 18 agility. And I don't know, but armor has to have diminishing returns past a certain point, right? I was just talking about stacking crit for big autos and stuff, so maybe it was dumb, but I took the leather pants.
Oh my gosh, bro. First time player taking the leather pants. What a gamer. Oh my gosh. Dude, I would have went male pants for sure as a first time. Dude, that is legit. So smart.
I'm sure this was probably a mistake, and in fact, I actually looked up what the comments section said for the male pants set on Wowhead, and did see indeed that everyone says you should take the chainmail pants if you're...
No, that was legit. Your DP, you had a sick two-hander. Now you got the crit on the legs. This is very legit. These comments are from 2006. This guy's a noob. You own, man.
You're a warrior, but I don't even care. Getting to make these dynamic choices between different options that at least...
Hold on, I have to stop the video right now and look at the comments. They're gonna back up this pant choice, right? You took the leather pants, good job. Yeah. A new player figuring out how warrior weapon works is insane. The leather pants are great. Yeah. Okay, the comments are telling them already.
These seem like they might be 2 different equally viable styles of play. It's such a great part of the identity you get to experience in an MMO. These games are all about crafting a play style that speaks to you as a player and lets you stand out as someone unique compared to all the other players out there, which is why I was determined to make my build work. When I got back to Hillsbrad, I wanted to test everything out and realized if I want to use all my different stances, then I should probably set up new keybinds. So I reset everything. Instead of just having all my skills on my numbered keys, I started only using the keys that my hand could realistically reach from ASDW, rebinding basically everything else, including ASDW. That's because I mostly just use QWE to move forward.
He's a QWE gamer too? Let's go, G-Bay. That's what I do. QWE, man. I don't use ASD. That's what we're talking about. QWE Giga Chad.
And strafe. The keys that turn you side to side or walk backwards aren't really necessary. Walking backwards in this game makes you go at half speed, and you can choose to flip your character around and just run forward, backward if you...
So kinda. As a tank, you do want to backpedal keybind because you don't want to get hit from behind. To reposition a boss when 40 people are hitting it in Naxxramas, you don't want to like flip the boss really quick. You want to just slowly backpedal to the right spot. So you actually do want backpedal as a tank, but if you play any other role, you don't need it. So yeah, this is pretty cool to figure that out.
Want to move in that direction. I've always heard WoW players use the word backpedaling as an insult online, and I'm assuming this is why. So that frees up even more keybinds that I can set my abilities to, and once I start putting my stances on my F1 through 3 keys, I feel set to go around and practice using multiple stances to kill random mobs in Hillsbrad, and it's so fun. Like, my little strategies are probably stupid, and I'm sure there is a ton I'm missing as a new player, but it is genuinely so enjoyable to theory craft little builds and then see them actually work. At the very least, this two-handed axe is actually getting some kills and seems so much smoother compared to what I was seeing before. Once I feel confident.
He also, I think, leveled up his weapon skill because I didn't see any weapon skill level up, so we're locked in on that now too.
Enough that I know what I'm doing, I am instantly opening up my quest log to look for new tasks where I can test all this out further. There's a few green quests I have to do in the wetlands, which seem like a good place to start, so I fly south to try those out first. I begin by heading back to that cursed Kultiran ship to finish a quest chain that we started in the middle of last episode, and I swear, the fact that I can actually fight multiple mobs at once now as a warrior, I mean, that feels like Warcraft 2. In other words, it's better than sex. I mess around more with swapping stances mid-combat, where I can't quite tell if I'm doing more or less damage. This might be one of those circumstances where it would be really nice if I could use an add-on like Details. I'm kind of regretting making this playthrough no add-ons whatsoever. But regardless, it still feels really fun having access to certain skills that were otherwise gated behind stances, as many warrior skills.
Okay, so I really think there's something magical about like soft theory crafting in the sense that you can try 2 different builds and you don't actually have the data and the numbers to definitively say what's better, but you can feel what might be better. You can be like, oh, this one feels better, right? So because that's what we did back in the day, right? You didn't really have all of these fancy add-ons. Damage meters existed, but not everyone actually had them or even knew about them. So you would maybe respec and be like, yeah, this feels nicer. That's what gaming like is, right? But nowadays, everything is so figured out that it's not really by feel anymore. And I've talked about this a lot, but since playing League of Legends, it's actually made me think about it a little more. And what I mean by that is when I'm playing League, I'll often think to myself, does this guy have his ult up? Because if he doesn't, I can kill him. But if he does have his ult up, I'll probably die. Now in WoW, you just have a weak aura that tracks the cooldown of their ult above their head. In League, the cooldown of their ult changes depending on their level and changes depending on what items they build with ability haste. And there's no add-ons that will track it over their head. So it's very dynamic. Now, if you're a skilled player, you can think, okay, he is level 10. His ult has this cooldown. He used it at 9:30 game time, so it'll be back up at 9:32 game time. But that is what I'm talking about. That's a general feeling concept. It's not just a tracker over their head, and you know exactly to the second when it's up. Why am I talking about this? This makes it so that this feeling of playing the game and this feeling of, I think his ult isn't up. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think it is yet. I'm going to make this play is so good, especially for PvP, to not have it ironed out to to the millisecond right when it comes up. Because when things are too solved and when you have too much information, PvP just becomes this scripted thing of, all right, he has his ult up, I'm going to wait. Okay, it's down for 47 seconds. I'm going to do another go. Okay, it's back up. I'm going to wait. It just becomes this like scripted thing that becomes very boring very quickly at high level, or anyone that uses an add-on well, versus when you don't have the add-on, it's this art. It's less of a science. It's more of an art, right? And that's not a jab at science, but when it comes to professional gaming, it's really fun that it's an art, right? It's like, I'm going to feel this one out, right? Anyway, no add-ons for PvP. Awesome. I'm trying to think of another analogy, like maybe in Counter-Strike, What if you had an add-on in Counter-Strike that over someone's head, it showed you how many nades they have left? Or in Valorant, I don't play any of these games, so maybe these are bad analogies. Or in Valorant, you had a cooldown over their head and it tells you when their ult was up in Valorant or something, right? Or how much HP they have. A weak aura over someone's head showing how much HP. It's like, no, that is the game. That's the knowledge of the game, is to think about how much HP they have, to communicate that, right? To be aware of how many nades they've thrown, right? How many bullets in their mag. A weak aura that shows how many bullets they have left. How much, like, that would just like ruin the beauty of the game. Anyway, that's kind of what happened to WoW PvP in a lot of ways, is for a long time, no one really used add-ons. They existed, but no one really even used them in PvP. And then they kind of crept in over time to the point where you have all of the information. You have all the cards. So people play at a much higher level now, like way higher level. Like the players today are so good. They have all the knowledge and they're making the perfect choices because they have all the information. But the game kind of sucks that way in a sense, because it's just it's too much of a science now. It's like, I kind of miss when it was an art, you know? Savix is in the chat. Hey man, he says my brothers said add-ons in PvP was cheating. Yeah, exactly. It's like when you know all of it, it's like then there's so much of the beauty is taken out. So anyway, this is a very, very long rant here, but I love the fact that G-Bait actually isn't using the damage meter, tries 2 builds, and goes with the one that feels like it's more effective, because that's awesome. That's really awesome, you know?
Skills can only be used when you're in a particular stance. I go off and kill some more orcs for another quest, continuing my practice with this setup, which I only mentioned because I got one super sweet kill where an orc snared me and tried to run away, but I managed to snipe him with my crossbow. My new setup still requires quite a bit of real testing though, so I decided that maybe one of the best things I could do was a second run of Nomergon. I needed to get that grime-encrusted ring cleaned anyway, as well as all those other quests that I had just picked up. Some of which I still don't finish on a second run because there are so many quests in this dungeon with multiple stages. But this run goes just as smooth as the one before. Nobody dies, I get more tasks done, and even win a lucky drop, some agility boosting shoulders that I might use, although they're tradable. I should probably see what they sell for first. By the end of this, I was feeling on top of the world though. My strategy seemed to be working, I'm gaining more levels, and even managed to tank that second run of Nomergon fairly well. I was riding so high in fact that I couldn't possibly imagine how disappointed I was about to become only moments later.
Level 30 warrior with a brand new weapon with sweeping strikes, you're gonna be on a high. Sick blue axe, arms, sweeping strikes, like you're gonna feel so good, man.
Because that was when I wanted to try and get back on the profession grind. Specifically, I just really wanted to get back to fishing. If you guys remember, when I first discovered fishing in this game, I was having so much fun with it that I just wanted to straight up max the skill to 300 before doing anything else. It wasn't until I learned shortly after that WoW caps your ability to max skills at 150 until you go off and see some dude that will unlock further progress. I can't get my fishing skill any higher until I find Nat Pagel, and additionally I learned I can't get my first aid any higher until meeting with some person in Stromgard. And I don't know why, but if you saw the episode where I got stuck on fishing at 150, I said that I thought Nat Pagel was in Darrowshire for some reason. I don't know where I got that from. It very clearly says he's in Dustwallow Marsh, which I've seen outside of Theramore Isle, meaning I can get back to skilling finally. Now seems as good a time as any, so after turning in the last of those Nomergon quests, I went off to take the boat to Theramore Isle in search of Nat Pagel. I have no clue where he is, but I figured he's probably somewhere near the water, right? So I just hop into the...
Man, I just got to go back here for a second because this is just such a cool moment.
Back to skilling finally! Now seems as good a time as any, so...
Okay, right here. So in modern MMOs, what happens a lot of the times is you have the max level rating population segmented in a completely separate area of the world. They're in the new area in the new content, and you don't see them because they're doing the new raid in the new area in the brand new content. And if you're leveling, you see a bunch of low level players. One of the things that Classic WoW has always done so well is this level 60 with Ash Candy, what is this, tier 2, is taken the boat as a level third, the same boat as a level 32, and they're in the same vicinity. I don't know about you guys, but as a level 32 brand new player to the game, I would be drooling looking at this guy's gear, thinking a tier 1. Oh, okay, I haven't played Hunter. I'd be drooling looking at this guy's gear, being like, oh my gosh, that is sick. And it gives me something to now aspire towards. Right? I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So cool. It's like a big moment. It's a very subtle moment, but a very big moment. And a lot of these modern games, like you don't see that anymore. It's just like, all right, high levels over here, low levels line up, and meet the higher levels when you get there. And that's pretty much it, you know.
After turning in the last of those Nomergon quests, I went off to take the boat to Theramore Isle in search of Nat Pagal. I have no clue where he is, but I figured he's probably somewhere near the water, right? So I just hop into the ocean and start swimming in one direction, only to see that, okay, the mobs around here are a pretty...
He doesn't know where he is, so he hops in the water and starts swimming. I love it.
high level. God, I really want to find him though. I'd hate to give up now that I actually know what zone he's in, what zone will let me get back to fishing. But sadly, my low level gives a really big aggro range on these mobs, and after getting swamped by a huge lobster and Loch Ness monster, I die and realize that it's not gonna happen. I run back to my corpse and revive, trying to survey the landscape to see if I can see him anywhere, but it looks like this is a huge area and I'm not gonna be able to find him, so I decide to just hearth out of here, trying to not feel too disappointed. This is now the second time in this episode where I've been so excited to see new content in an area only to get stonewalled, but it's all right. There's still plenty more for me to do. In fact, I still have...
It not only is it all right, but it's good, right? Like we've already mentioned, it's good. Like you want these experiences. You want the world to feel scary. You want to die and to come back stronger and own the stuff. It's very good.
Plenty of quests to do in Hillsbrad and the surrounding regions that are definitely appropriate for my level, so I head back up to questing there. As I continue, I'm happy to see that my strategy is still working, as I'm able to kill some more mobs that aren't just my level, but I'm even able to 1v1 a few that are 1 or 2 levels higher than me, something I don't think I've ever been able to consistently do as a warrior before. I'm so strong, in fact, that I can now set foot in the Ultrek mountain range for the first time, another region from Warcraft 2 that I really want to explore and learn more about. One thing I do find is an interesting ogre encampment where I have a few quests to collect some drops off these guys. Ogres are one of those standard fantasy creatures that I've never given too much thought to before, but seeing how Warcraft has fleshed them out as a race is really interesting. It's expanded on them both with the events surrounding the runestone at Kyrdero and even getting a peek into their traditions and whatnot in Warcraft 3's bonus campaign. They're starting to feel a bit more interesting than the big dumb giants I've always assumed they were. I keep questing across the Alterac and Hillsbrad regions though, until I start to run out of tasks to do, so I head back south into Arathi, where I pick up more quests to kill more Syndicate in the area. Leveling is starting to go by a bit slower.
Have you guys noticed something? He's starting to become a WoW player. He called a quest a task, and he just said, I'm picking up another quest to kill more syndicates in the area. He's not asking where the syndicates came from. He's not asking why am I killing the syndicates. He's not thinking about these tasks. He's just like, oh, I'll kill some more mobs now. You know, because when we started this journey, it was like, okay, where are these guys from and why are we doing it, right? He's like trying to, now he's just like, all right, I'm gonna get some XP and swing some things with my cool new axe, you know?
But I don't even care, since these zones are so beautiful. I would love to be stuck leveling in them for ages and ages. I group up with a couple of players for one of our quests, which involves killing mobs for drops in Stromgarde, another exciting lore place from Warcraft 2. Except once again, this place proves to be pretty tough. The very first group of mobs we try to fight nearly wipe our entire party because there are a million invisible syndicates here who are all much higher level than we are, and they're are also elites. We try to go through this area a few more times, just a bit slower, which yields some progress and allows us to explore the ruins. But once again, we just get stonewalled by the higher levels that we can't seem to take down, leading to our group disbanding. Even so, I still get a little something out of this disappointment. After our group left for the night, I noticed a friendly part of the city's ruins, which still has some Alliance soldiers, and that is when I remembered this is the place where the first aid trainer guy is, where I learn I can buy some later game recipes that allow me to train my first aid skill beyond 150. It feels nice that even when I fail, I still get to make a little bit of progress on my account sometimes, and by now, I've made quite a bit of progress. Since the start of this episode, I've grabbed 3 levels, a new weapon, all new talents, and pieces of gear, meaning that I might be ready to take on Stranglethorn once more. So before long, I'm heading back down to Duskwood to run off south again, since I never even made it far enough into the jungle to find a flight path. That's a good goal, actually. Regardless of how far I can go on any quest, whether I can find those Bloodscalp guys or not, I should, at the very least, be able to explore enough that I can find a damn flight path. First, though, I head toward the Curzon compound to see if I am high enough level to do some of those quests that I failed before. On the way, I try to prep myself by fighting.
And that's the feeling you're looking for, right? You go in, you die, you get a bunch of upgrades, you go back and you conquer. That's the gameplay loop RPG players just love, man. It's amazing.
Hitting a few jungle tigers, hitting all my new keybinds, making sure that I still understand this new setup, which evidently I do not. That's because I fat finger retaliation right as I reach the edge of the compound, already handicapping myself by losing one of my most important get out of jail free cards. But you know what? It doesn't even matter. I don't know if the couple levels I got since I was last here is the difference, or if my new build really is the most genius thing in the world, but now I can fight multiple Curzon fighters and medicine men no problem. Not only do I manage to knock out both quests, I even start getting these cool written pages as a drop, probably for some other quest, which makes me very excited. This is all just more lore I get to read, and apparently there's a lot of it since this is page 11. Gosh, how many do I have to collect? After returning to the
I gotta see him piece all the green ills of Stranglethorn together and read it all. Oh my gosh.
Camp, the sergeant gives me more sets of mobs to go take down, and another soldier gives me a quest to try to figure out why Colonel Curzon went mad, asking that I go off and find some hidden tablets in the troll ruins of Stranglethorn, bringing back transcriptions of them. First and foremost, I go off to try and take out the Curzon mobs, which goes by no problem at all. I don't know if I can accurately express how exciting this is. I'm actually seeing all the hard work I put into questing and theory crafting my build work out in real time, overcoming a challenge that genuinely felt all but hopeless to me at the start of this episode. After finishing yet another quest that I turn back into the sergeant, I'm riding high enough that I'm feeling invincible.
That is quite literally the guiding principle of an RPG, right? Like, it's so important, man. I sound like a broken record here, man, but it's just like, it's just so critical to the game feeling how it does.
So I figure now is a point where I should probably go and try and explore the jungle a bit more. Surely I've made enough progress to go find a flight path, so I start heading down the road south. I kill some more tiger mobs on my way that go down no problem. I make more discoveries, succeeding in locking more and more areas of the map, killing even higher level gorillas and tigers that come my way. Even though I'm only level 35, I am able to take these guys down with ease. So much ease, in fact, that at one point, I try and kill a level 37 mob while simultaneously continuing to head down the road in some sort of weird time efficiency idea I got in my head. But that's when I accidentally aggro a level 38 and I am forced to 2v1 both of them for the fight of my life.
Lock it in, baby. Retail potion. Let's go, Demo shouts. Dial it. Sweeping strikes. Cleave. Come on. He's gonna die, huh? Yeah, doesn't look good. I mean, you have potion. Yeah, there we go. Click it. Yo, parry haste. Big damn. He's gonna die, isn't he? We need a crit and execute. Hamstring. Okay. Bandage. advantage. Oh. Execute. Execute. Oh my gosh, execute. 1v2'd.
Okay, I know this is probably completely standard to WoW players, but this felt like the coolest thing I've ever done in a video game. After aggroing an additional mob who was 3 levels higher than me, even though I was already fighting another that was 2 levels higher, I somehow managed to kill the first mob, use whatever synergies work so well to help me take down and subdue the second, and even when my health potion wasn't going to be enough to save me when I hit low health, I had the wherewithal to use hamstring, run away, and then use bandages to heal up so I could still get the kill. That's why you guys have been telling me to train first aid. I had no idea. I thought bandages were just another source of food you could use to heal after a fight. I didn't realize they were a channeled skill you can use in combat.
Legend.
I get it now. Pulling that off was genuinely one of
Bro, this is so cute. I just love it. Like this is awesome, man. It's like going in a time machine and watching someone like play for the first, like, I just love it, dude. Oh my gosh. He's evolving. Oh, it's great. It's great. I love it. I absolutely love it. Guys, wait till he figures out about this. With this. And the numbers.
the most satisfying moments I've ever experienced in any video game. It made the trek down to Booty Bay, which I discovered not long after, feel like an absolute victory parade. When I got to Booty Bay, I even had a bit of difficulty finding the flight point I was in search of, since apparently it's in such a high place up in these buildings, and I'm not sure if there's a clear pathway to it. I had to jump across all these rooftops and verandas, but I kept falling off them because my hands were shaking from the adrenaline of that fight. I finally reached the Griffin though, which felt like a wonderful triumph, something almost worthy of ending this video on, except we still have one goal left. If you've been watching this series from the start, you know
we need some type of story. That's what we need. That's what we were saying earlier.
That one goal I have for every episode is to find a story that I genuinely care about in Azeroth, and I found a particularly great one for this episode, thanks to you guys. See, one of the nice things about how much I've grown as a player is that this feeling of confidence in my abilities has given me much more confidence to explore every corner of each zone. And in one of my recent episodes, back when I first left the wetlands and crossed Thandal Span into the Arathi Highlands, a few viewers left comments telling me that I should check out if there's anything underneath that bridge. So back earlier, right before dinging 35, I was exploring Arathi and figured now was as good a time as any to head down to Thandal and check out what was underneath that bridge. After jumping into the water and being thankful this game is not like real life, where a jump from this height would have just killed me from surface tension, I swam down below into the water to find the lifeless corpse of a dwarf, trapped underneath a rock with a note floating in his hand.
Wow.
I grabbed the note, swim back up to the surface, and eventually hearth back to Hillsbrad to read it, and that's when I am met with some of the most genuinely compelling writing, where I know exactly where it's from. My dear Sarah, the indications are very strong that we shall move to take watch over the Thandal Span in a few days.
I don't know if I've read this.
Lest I shall not be able to write you again, I feel impelled to write a few lines that may fall under your eye when I shall be no more. Our assignment may be one of severe conflict and death to me. If it is necessary that I should fall on the battlefield for the Alliance, I am ready. I know how strongly the kingdoms of Ironforge lean on the triumph of the Alliance, and I am willing, perfectly willing, to lay down all my joys in this life to help maintain this alliance. Sarah, my love for you is deathless. The memories of all the blissful moments I have spent with you come creeping over me, and I am most deeply grateful to the light and you that I have enjoyed them so long, and how hard it is for me to give them up and burn to ashes the hopes of future years when we might still have lived and loved together and seen our sons grow up to honorable dwarfhood around us. If I do not return home, my dear Sarah, never forget how much I love you, and when my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, I shall whisper your name.
Wow.
Forgive my many faults and the many pains I have caused you. How thoughtless, how foolish I have oftentimes been. I must watch you from the twisting nether and hover near you while you buffet the storms with your precious little freight and wait with sad patience till we meet to part no more.
Dude,
but oh,
wow.
Sarah, if the dead can come back to Azeroth and flit unseen around those they love, I shall always be near you in the gladdest day and in the darkest night, amidst your happiest scenes and gloomiest hours, always, always. And if there be a soft breeze on your cheeks, it shall be my breath. As the cool air fans your throbbing temple, it shall be my spirit passing by. Sarah, do not mourn me dead. Think I am gone and wait for thee, for we shall meet again.
Wow, that was really
now, because
good.
I'm a big history nerd, I immediately recognize this from Ken Burns' great Civil War documentary. This isn't something Blizzard came up with. This was an actual letter written by a Union soldier, Sullivan Ballou, to his wife Sarah, early on in the Civil War, right before he was sent off and killed in the First Battle of Bull Run. The story is one of the most beautiful and famously heartbreaking across history, and classic WoW doesn't just pull it out as a reference. Blizzard actually expanded on it in a really unusual way. See, the real letter is almost word for word what you read here, but the parts about the Alliance or other references to Azeroth are obviously different. The original Sullivan Ballou instead volunteered for the Union Army in the first year of the Civil War, primarily because he believed it necessary that volunteers like him stepped forward if the country was to be kept intact. Quote, I know how strongly American civilization now leans upon the triumph of the government, and how great a debt we owe to those who went before us through the blood and suffering of the revolution. And I am willing, perfectly willing, to lay down all my joys in this life to help maintain this government and to pay that debt.
Bro, I was like, this writing is so good. Hats off to Blizzard, to whoever wrote this. Wow, that's some of the best writing I've ever seen in WoW. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, dude, that was beautiful. Like, that was absolutely beautiful. Holy crap.
But Classic WoW takes that story and chooses to spin it in a really interesting direction. In-game, we still get to read all of the same love that Sully has for his wife and the steadfast loyalty he had for the Alliance, of course. But the story doesn't end there. When I take Sully's letter back to Sarah in Ironforge, his...
Has anyone else noticed, like... gosh, old language is just so beautiful. Like when you watch a show like Game of Thrones or like House of the Dragon, or like when you read a letter like this, obviously a little different, but oh, it's just so beautiful, man. And now, like, the way we speak now is just like, hey man, like, do you want to like get some coffee? Like, and it's like, I know like Europeans out there be like, no, that's an American thing, which is like maybe true. It's like, oh man, you know? Have you guys thought of that? It's like, for real, 6'7", no cap on a stack. It's just like, oh, it was so good, man. It was so good. We got to bring back talking like that. That would be sick.
Words are of little comfort to the shock that she feels, unable to do anything but weep for her lost husband. She's angry, furious even, at the powers that took her husband away, for all the bravado and honor traditionally given to soldiers who sacrifice their lives for a nation state. Here we just see the material loss that loved ones have to deal with, and how little even a beautifully worded letter can give any kind of comfort in their absence. This is made more explicit when Sarah gives me a letter of her own to take to the King of Ironforge, Magni Bronzebeard, which only further emphasizes this point. To my honorable king, it is not the place of a lowly soldier's wife to question the actions of great leaders. But the wars we wage come at what cost? Upon the death of which fallen soldier do we realize the very life we strive to save is slipping from us on the battlefield? Under how many swords and axes must we throw our future? Under how many feet of sodden soil must we bury our past? It is not the place of a lowly soldier's wife to ask such questions, yet I, write this to you as the lonely soldier's widow, and the dead cannot ask these questions for themselves. Upon taking this letter to Magni, he writes an order to commission a memorial built in Sully Baloo's name, which I take to the stonemason, who asks I grab some requisite material that I go off and collect in no time at all. And as I collect the stone, I can only think about how hollow this feels. A memorial, as touching as it may be, isn't enough to bring Sully back. It's not enough to save Sarah from her grief. No number of decorations or medals or celebrations for the fallen will replace the life that's been lost. And as I return to then see the memorial built, I can only think of how small and insignificant it looks in comparison to that loss of life. The quest ends with a hollow thud as I return to the king with news of its completion, to be rewarded with a small memorial ring. And God, I started this video talking about learning to play warrior and video game difficulty, but I'm ending it with an exploration of the sacrifices of fallen soldiers? How is this game's writing so good that it can have me battling cartoon orcs and dinosaurs 1 second while leaving me weeping over a lost husband the next? Are there any writing?
Did you guys all know about, like, one's in the chat if you knew about this quest. Two's in the chat if you had no idea the reference, this quest, and you just turned it in and collected your experience. Okay, so there's more twos for sure. Way more twos. There's definitely people that knew, but way more twos. I'm a two. I didn't know this. That is awesome. Like, I'm loving this playthrough because I get to see him play through new things that I've experienced and relive it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I'm also liking the playthrough because I'm learning stuff too. It's like, holy crap, I never knew that, man. That's rad.
Credits out there for quests that I can find. I would love to know which designers specifically crafted some of these incredible stories I keep bumping into. The writing in this game really makes this world come alive in the most beautiful way. Anyway, that seems as good a place as any to wrap this episode. We are now level 35, and I still don't have my Whirlwind Axe, but this world is just so rich with quality stories that I don't want to rush by any of them too quickly. Next episode, we will get that Whirlwind Axe, come hell or high water. And
level 35, you're not getting it unless you get carried or you do the water cheese. Yeah, good luck. I can't wait to see it.
And hopefully, I can also find Nat Pagel soon so I can get back to fishing. Please consider subscribing if you would like to see those future episodes. I'm going to try to get the next few out pretty quickly, as I kind of hope that I can get close to reaching 60 before BlizzCon, or at least before Classic Plus comes out, which everybody is so sure is going to be announced there. I will be at BlizzCon too, for the record. I have my ticket and flight booked, so feel free to say hi if you see me wandering around there. I will be the 6'5" lanky guy wearing a very loud shirt, as always.
Yo, dude, we gotta meet up with G-Bay at the con. 6'5". Okay, 6'5" with the t-shirts. I think we can find him. Holy crap. 6'5". Guys, if I'm at BlizzCon, if you see me, I am not 6'5". My height is very dependent on the angle of which you see me. If I'm on a stage and you're like, I might look like I'm taller sometimes and shorter at other times, but I can assure you I'm above average height for the average Mexican American. Regardless, very good video, very solid video.